Last week, we had buyers fly up from Southern California to take a look at homes in our area. And there was one home on our list that has been on the market for almost a year. And anytime a home has been sitting on the market for longer than the average, a buyer will always ask, why hasn't this home sold? What stops a house from selling? And when it comes down to it, there really are about 4 reasons why a house will sit on the market a little longer than others. If you're getting a home ready to sell, I want you to avoid any buyer from having to ask why your home has been on the market for so long. One of the first reasons, I'm just going to get it out of the way, and it may upset you, but if you will please continue on with me as we move past this controversial topic, and that is price. At what price is the home listed for sale? Even if there is a home that is in really bad condition, has a lot of deferred maintenance, or it's in a really bad location, there is still a price that buyers are willing to pay for that home. I can promise you that if we take a really terrible house in horrible condition, that's in a horrible location, a super busy street corner, and put it on the market for $10, I will have 1,000 offers on that property. I know that's a ridiculous example, but there is a saying in real estate, and it's price cures everything. And what that means is there is a sweet spot for buyers that buyers are willing to pay for a particular property, no matter its condition, no matter its location. And all things considered, when you can find that sweet spot for buyers, that opens up your buyer pool. And that is the goal, is to get as many eyes on that property as possible. In our MLS, we could take a look at the history of the listing. And in this particular case, the property was valued really high to start with, and it has seen several price reductions over the last several months. And in my opinion, that home is now priced at the right value, but it took so long to get there that it really lost its appeal. Something else that stops a home from selling, and it's something that you really can't do a whole lot about, is the location of the property. When it comes to location, there are different things that are important to different buyers. There are some buyers that prefer a more rural location, and there are some buyers that want a quick commute to work or to an airport. I like to do my grocery shopping at Trader Joe's and Sprouts Market. So if I'm within 20 minutes of either one of those, I'm a happy girl. Buyers also take into consideration the noise factor. Is the neighborhood noisy? Do you have noisy neighbors that like to party all night? Or are you near an airport or on a busy street corner? With a lot of people working from home, they like to have a quiet space in their house where they're not subject to a lot of distractions and interruptions. Some buyers will bypass new construction entirely because, again, they may work from home and they don't like the sound of construction happening all day long during their workday. When it comes to location, there could be other things that a buyer will take into consideration as well. For example, they'll want to know how close is the nearest hospital, or is there a school or a park that's within walking distance, or is it a neighborhood where they can walk their dogs? The buyer that flew up last week, she walks 3 miles every single day. And so having a walkable neighborhood was very important to her. The location of the property is something that a buyer definitely weighs when they're giving value to a particular house. And of course, the next thing that buyers consider when they're taking a look at properties is the condition of the property. But here I'm kind of using a wide brush when I'm talking about the condition of the home. Not only am I talking about how well a property has been maintained over the years, but I'm also talking about how well it presents the day we schedule an appointment to take a look at the property. When we as agents schedule a time to have our buyer come and take a look at our property, we do our best to give you as much time as possible, because we really want you to have the time that you need to have the property in a presentable condition for our buyer. If a home has been deep cleaned, everything from the tops of the ceiling fan blades to the bottom of the baseboards, and dishes have been put away, and the house has been decluttered, there is just a vibe and a feel to that house that makes buyers feel at ease. Even if a home is in poor condition or it needs a little bit of updating, but it has been deep cleaned and it smells good, a buyer will take that into consideration. Yes, of course, they may discount for the maintenance or the repairs or the updates or the renovations that a house may need, but if it's clean and presents well, they won't add to the cost of repairs and maintenance and renovations and updates. Does that make sense? It's a psychological thing for buyers. For example, if there's maybe an outdated range or oven that is in a house, but it is clean, and the buyer wants to update it, a buyer will have a real cost value to replace that appliance with a new appliance that they want. If that range is dirty and grimy and greasy and hasn't been cleaned in the 10 years that it's been used, a buyer will add value to that replacement cost in their head. Also, when a home is decluttered, it feels more light and airy. There's a better energy and a feel to the home that buyers kind of want to hang out there for a little while. And when a buyer is shopping for a home, you want them to hang out in your home for as long as possible. Last week, we saw about a dozen homes, and on average, my buyer spent probably 30 to 45 minutes in each home, except for one. We probably spent about 60 seconds in that home because it was so cluttered and it felt so dark and claustrophobic that my buyers just wanted the heck out of there. Here's the good news, is that when it comes to the presentation and the cleanliness of the home, you have complete control over that situation. That is something you control, unlike the location of the property. You may decide that you want to do the deep cleaning yourself and it won't cost you anything other than the products that it takes to clean the home. Or you may decide that you want to hire someone to come in and deep clean your home for you. And I will tell you that is well worth the investment, even if it costs you $1,000 to have somebody come in and clean everything from the tops of the ceiling fans to the tops of the baseboards. That $1,000 will be money well spent. You'll get that back. When we talk about the condition of the property, we also talk about any repairs or updates or renovations that the house may need. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When a buyer drives up to a home, and if they see right away that there is a lot of maintenance that the home needs, for example, let's say that the roof gutters are a little bit wonky or dented or rusted, or the front door needs a fresh coat of paint, or the lawn is just, or the landscape is just fully overgrown. Instead of going into that home and finding reasons to fall in love with the house, that buyer is going to take a look at that particular house, and they've already started a list outside. They're going to continue that list inside of things that need to be repaired should they decide to move forward and write an offer on that home. And every item that that buyer writes down on their list, either mentally or physically on a list, each item comes at a cost. There's a true cost that it will take to repair those damaged items, but there's also the value of time to a buyer. And a buyer, when looking at a property that has some deferred maintenance, will be weighing those things out. And a buyer will be looking at those things as deduction from the value of the property. On the same hand, a buyer may put a higher value on a property because it's in better condition than the other properties that they've seen, or it has more amenities to offer than the other properties that they've seen. Before you head down this path of getting your house ready to sell and you start thinking about renovations and paint colors and curb appeal and all of that, reach out to an agent. You'll want someone who works in your local market, who knows the trends, what buyers are looking for, and they will be a great guide and resource before you start tearing down any walls and replacing appliances. Every home is different, every neighborhood is different, every market is different, and you never want to improve for your area. And I also don't want you spending money that you'll never get back. If you need help finding an agent in your area and you're not in the Sacramento area, please reach out to us. We can still help find an agent for you. We'll interview them and help you find somebody that would be a great guide in getting your house ready to sell. And finally, the fourth reason why a home sits on the market for so long, or what stops a home from selling, it has to do with marketing the property. Nearly every home buyer today finds the house that they buy on the internet first. So those marketing photos are so important. When an agent puts a property in the MLS, it almost automatically goes to the three main websites that home buyers look for houses, and that is Redfin, Zillow, and Realtor.com. Our MLS in the Sacramento area allows for, I think it's 98 photographs that we could put into the MLS. And I used to believe that it was so important important to try and max out as many photographs as possible, but I don't think that's true anymore. And here's the reason why. When buyers are online, they are swiping to find a reason not to visit a property. When we are listing a home for sale, we want to find all the reasons to draw a buyer into that property. That may feel tricky, I know, but when you're hiring an agent to market your property, that is the goal, is to get as many buyers' eyes on that property as possible. The way to attract buyers' eyes is through high quality photographs and through a really nice video of the property, running ads on social media, and doing all of the print advertising. Every house deserves high quality marketing. No matter the condition of the house, there is a buyer for every property, as long as we find that sweet spot price point and we market it in all the right places. Last year, I had a house where the ceiling was wide open in 3 different areas and the roof was leaking through. We took some really great high quality photographs of the property and we did a really cool video, and we were able to market that property to investors that were either looking to fix and flip or do what we call BRRR, which is buy, renovate, rent, and repeat. And even though that property was in poor condition, we received several offers, giving that seller a lot of options to choose from. And if I could leave you with one last thought, just something to ponder about, it's about the accessibility and availability when it comes to showing your home. My buyers scheduled a last-minute trip. They were flying up for one day to see about a dozen houses. As their agent, I was calling all of those sellers or the listing agents in order to schedule the viewings to see all of those homes in one day. There was one home that had super restrictive showing hours, and I either had to schedule everything else around that, or we just needed to eliminate it off the list. Home buyers and home sellers don't always have the same schedule. Sometimes a home buyer has shift work because they're in law enforcement or first responders, or sometimes a buyer is flying up for a day to look at a dozen houses. As a seller, if you could be flexible with your schedule as to when you allow showings, you will probably have more buyers able to view your property, and you'll have happy buyers agents.